in the midst of it, we don't think of the outcomes of our actions. We just living in the moment, especially at that age.
Right.
You know, so understanding that for every action, there's a reaction.
Right.
You know, and it's a domino effect.
Peace and power. Welcome back to our series, The Do's and Don'ts of Life. So we're breaking it down. We started off with the teens. Now we're in the 20s. So, Brother Mack.
Yes.
Hit us with your first one. Your first one, don't do.
The first one for me was just focusing too much on the women. Focusing too much on, just the females and just not focusing on building myself.
That's great. That's a great one. Okay. Young men, listen. This is words of wisdom being dropped. I just told my son something similar too. That's funny.
Yeah.
He's in a relationship though.
Okay.
So my number one is my lack of life planning. You know, in my 20s, I realized that I had very short-term, narrow vision of life. I did my best, and my friends who knew me back then would probably be like, nah, True, you had a plan, and, I remember you being structured. I was pretty much like the same person, just living a street life. But reflecting on that plan was real shallow, just to compare it to chess. So the best chess players can think in advance, can think like 7 moves ahead. I would say at best, my plans were maybe 2 moves ahead if we're comparing life to chess. Also, my plans were very reactionary, and just to give you an example, so I didn't go straight to college right after high school. I was in the streets doing my thing. I was also working. I kept the job. And I caught a big charge, was facing some time. And that's when I decided, you know what? Maybe I should go back to school, get a degree, develop a career. So, reflecting back, I was really reactionary with life and very narrow-minded with life. And mind you, I had my first child at 19. And I know that we're talking about our 20s, but if that spilled over into the 20s, obviously. So, yeah. So to summarize it, my lack of life planning and career planning. That's my number one. I hit you with my number two.
Yeah.
My number two is I caught a big felony. In my 20s that still impacts me to this day. I'm doing some things behind the scene to deal with that, and lawyers are on it. But just catching that felony, that drug charge, young men out there, young women out there, just stay off the streets. You cannot beat the system in that way, and it will come back to haunt you. Took away some of my rights as a citizen, and also opportunities. There's some opportunities, like for example, I'm an X-ray tech, and because of that felony, I wasn't able to capitalize some of the opportunities that were on the table, like working at a hospital. However, and when I say however, I don't mean to negate what I said, just reframing it in a positive way. It ended up being a blessing though. And I'll tell you why.
Why
so? Because I wasn't able to work at a hospital, I went to school, eventually got my degree and became an X-ray tech, specializing in radiography, obviously. And I wasn't able to work at a hospital because of my record. However, mobile X-ray gave me a chance. And I'm so thankful for that. And that became a blessing, not only because I was able to, proceed in my new career, but driving, right? So now I'm driving for 8-10 hours a day, 13 hours a day. Guess what my car became, Brother Mack?
What was that?
My car became what Jim Rohn calls, rest in peace, Jim Rohn, a mobile university. So a major reason why I am who I am today is because of all the books, and audio books and lectures and YouTube videos and podcasts like Raw Success that you're listening to right now that I was able to consume while I was driving. So that limited obstacle ended up actually being a blessing. You know, and it reminds me of a Chinese parable that I heard. I don't know. Can I share it with you?
Please do.
I know you got your number 2. I can't wait to hear your number 2. So there was a Chinese farmer, right, whose horse ran away. And when the horse ran away, the neighbors came through and said, "Oh, man, your horse ran away. That's such a bad thing, isn't it?" And the Chinese farmer said, "We'll see." All right. So the horse ended up coming back. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. The horse ended up coming back and brought with it a whole bunch of other wild horses. So now one left, and now he has a whole bunch of other wild horses, right? The neighbors came to his house. "Oh, man, you got all these horses. That's great, isn't it?" The farmer said, "We'll see." So one day, this farmer's son was out attempting to tame and ride one of these wild horses, and he fell and broke his leg. And the neighbors came over and, "Oh, man, your son broke his leg because of one of the wild horses. That's a bad thing, isn't it?" The farmer said, "Maybe. We'll see." And then the army came because there was a big war and they wanted to recruit the farmer's son. And because the farmer's son had a broken leg, the recruiters didn't get him. The neighbors came by and said, "Oh, man, your son doesn't have to go to war. That's a good thing, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe. We'll see." So my moral of the story is that you never know. You know, an obstacle can end up being a blessing. So by no means am I saying that catching a felony is a blessing or a good thing in any way. What I'm saying is that I turned an obstacle into a blessing, and so can you. What's your second, King?
Yes, that's definitely profound. So my second actually correlates with my first. The first was just focusing too much on women. The second one is focusing too much on friends. It was that simple, you know. And this isn't to say, you know, just to the younger viewers that are out there, not to have friends, not to go out, not to enjoy your youth.
Word.
But do it, have some balance with it. You can't just focus too much on parties, smoking, drinking, or whatever vice it is that you have. You know, try to use some of that youthfulness on building. So further down in life, you don't have to work as hard. Okay, so in your 20s, you're vibrant, you're young. You can put in those extra hours. If you're doing the 9-to-5 thing, you know, you can put in those extra hours, get that overtime, stack that bread. Your mind is going, you know, on different things, on making money, building a legacy. Go out and take that risk. Do those things when you can, because as you age in life, as you get older, your tolerance for risk diminishes.
Right. And not to cut you, to add on to that, in your 20s, your life is less complicated.
Much.
You know, and I mean, I didn't have this support, you know, and my mother definitely did her best. Most times in your 20s, you still have support of your parents.
Absolutely. You might still be living with them.
Right. And so you have the ability to take more risks, like you mentioned. Exactly. So I just wanted to add that.
Exactly. You don't have the responsibilities that you'll have later on in life with bills, with children, with, you know, a wife and other people that depend on you. So, you know, in my 20s, I definitely had a lot of experiences, and those experiences made me the person that I am today. So I am glad for all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
But at the same time, if I can kind of rewind and do it again, I would definitely take life, take my career, take my goals a lot more serious, and You know, who knows? I mean, like as you just mentioned in your proverb, we'll see.
Right.
But
Right.
you know, I could only think that if I did take those things more serious, I probably would have reached the goals that I'm reaching now earlier in life.
Definitely. You know, one day I went to this Jay-Z concert, and Jay-Z said, act as if everything that's happening to you is for your benefit. You know, so again, even that takes a mindset to even be like, okay, this is happening and this is what I'm going to do about it, and not be all negative or just, you know, just lay down and not do anything with it. You know, take those struggles and turn them into strengths. Yesterday I was watching what's that movie called? It's on Netflix. I think it's called Lone Survivor.
Okay.
And one of the missions or statements that the Navy SEALs, this is like a Navy SEAL war movie.
Yeah, Marcus Luttrell is the author of that book, actually.
Oh,
I'm familiar
okay.
with the book, yeah.
Oh, nice. So you might be able to tell the story better than me, but my main point is they would say we're still stay in the fight. Stay in the fight, no matter what happens and what you do wrong or your errors and judgment. Stay in the fight. So my third one is, and this is gonna sound probably crazy to some people, but too much activism, too much community work, and that's something that most people would look at as a positive thing. But like the brother mentioned about your 20s, and it's a prime state for a man, right? You know, when I speak about stuff, I'm never like neglecting women. So if I say man, it includes women, but I'm a man. So I'm speaking from a man's perspective. You know, that's a prime state. You know, you have all the energy. Life is less complicated. You know, no need to be redundant. The brother broke it down. I spent a lot of time and resources, energy, and activism. And although it was a good thing, I wish that I spent that time, energy, and resources in a more moderate way to build myself. Because the better you become, the better you are able to build your community anyway. But I really thought like everything was gonna crash. Like, yo, as silly as this sound, I didn't invest in like my retire. I had a job at the time, and I didn't invest in the retirement fund and things of that nature because I was like, it's all gonna crash anyway. I really believe that. Yeah,
America's Babylon.
yeah, like I really believe that, and so yeah, I would say, man, just I wish that I did some of the activism, but spent more time building myself. Like I had I had properties. You know, I had 2 properties at the time. One of them my mother primarily occupied and ran, and the one that I occupied and ran, I mean, we did, like, we used it for good. Like we started a youth program, and we were, operate out of, the spot, and that's peace. But I just wish, and I wish that I was also taking that time to build myself up. Like I went to school and I was learning, I was doing some independent learning, but I wish that I was, I keep saying and I wish that I was also like maybe pursuing other skills to make more money or to make me more marketable, or more valuable to the marketplace, i.e., the society and community and so forth. So that's my third one, man. You know what I'm saying? That sounds crazy, but, reflecting back, I wish I spent more time building myself.
Yes, peace. Yeah, that's definitely understandable. So, yeah, my third part, I hate to call it regret, but was dropping out of college, actually.
How far did you go?
Second year.
Okay.
Second year, went to school for business administration. And although my views on college, this isn't to sway any viewer one way or the other, I think one of the biggest benefits for somebody that's business-minded to go to college for business is not necessarily the degree, but the networking. Because you're going to need those relationships for business. So I definitely think that is one thing that, college goers, business savvy people should focus more on during those years. But yeah, I'm not going to say it wasn't for me, because that wasn't the case. I've always been very intelligent. It wasn't a matter of not doing the work. I was just focusing on other stuff, and I didn't take advantage of it like I could have. Okay, so yeah, that's my third one.
All right, that's what it is. I got a bonus one for you. This one might be a little touchy, though. We might have to edit this one out. So I love all my children, but we like to be real here at Raw Success. That's why we call it Raw. So in my 20s, my second child was born, and that relationship was already done. And here I am bringing another life in a relationship that I knew was done. And I don't think that was the best thing, because at the end of the day, my son has been the one suffering and experiencing the impact of that choice. So I would say that something that I did wrong in my 20s is not being wise. Number one, having children at such a young age. And I touched on that before. But also not just again, the marathon, like just looking at the marathon, right? My first one was building a life, like life planning, and really looking at the reality of this. Like, this relationship is not ideal. And by the way, I take full responsibility for my part, 100% for my part. I'm not blaming the other person. But, like, I knew that relationship was over. It was toxic. We weren't meant for each other. Meanwhile, still bringing life. And that was wild. And, yeah.
We don't think of things like that, though,
Right.
Like, in the midst of it, we don't think of the outcomes of our actions. We just living in the moment, especially at that age.
Right.
So I think that kind of like boils everything over as well. Understanding that for every action, there's a reaction.
Right.
And it's a domino effect.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. So I really, truly, truly hope, that's the best word I can think of right now, if you are in your 20s, that you're really taking heed to these words. My brother and I, we live very busy, productive lives, and we enjoy, what we do, but we really, truly care about you. We don't know you, but we truly care. Like, we care about the world. We care about humanity. We care about young people. And this is why we're taking the time to put out this type of content, especially with the youth. Like, I'm talking to you like you're my son, because if you're in your 20s, you're old enough to be my son. And that's from the heart, for real. So please, young people, take heed. Take heed from your, whatever your parents are saying, your family members, whatever you're learning that's positive, obviously. Like, take heed. I get it. Like, I remember at your age, I thought I was invisible, like, and like I had life all figured out. Listen, just consider it. Maybe this older woman, or maybe this older man has a point. And at the very least, just pause, slow down, and take heed to the message.
Yes, as always. For the viewers, we want to know, what are some of the key points that you have? What are some of the regrets or don'ts that you would like to share to some of the listeners? We're looking forward to hearing from you. We're looking forward to continue building.
That's right.
And as our brother True mentioned, take heed. Use these years to build, to better yourselves.
Absolutely.
You're going to thank yourselves for it in the future.
Absolutely. So check out our other videos, what we did right in our teens, what we did wrong in our teens, and stay tuned for what we did right in our 20s. Peace and power.